Of all the natural and man-made wonders about which New Yorkers can boast, none are more glorious than the Adirondack Mountains and the state park that is their home. Now marking its 125th anniversary, the park spans more than 6 million acres, an area larger than Yosemite, Yellowstone, Glacier, Grand Canyon, and the Great Smokies National Parks. The Adirondacks is home to 3,000 lakes and ponds, 30,000 miles of rivers and streams, old-growth forest, astonishing peaks, a huge variety of birds, and 53 species of mammals, including moose, bears, beavers, fox, and, yes, skunks. And thanks to the foresight of 19th century environmentalists who etched a provision into the New York State Constitution, the park must be preserved as forever wild. But the North Country is also home to more than 430,000 New Yorkers whose residences, farms, businesses, and towns must coexist with parkland. Preserving the park while promoting economic development and the prosperity of area residents are New York State's key objectives in this region. When Governor Cuomo took office in 2011, the entire upstate region, North Country included, was enduring tough economic times. Unemployment was up, business activity was declining, and state investments in the region were inconsistent and uncoordinated. But under Governor Cuomo, New York made a decision. In order for the state to compete in a 21st century economy, the state needed to change its priorities and its way of doing business, and that included the North Country. Our strategy to unlock the potential of the North Country region consists of 3 elements. First, creating a regional economic development plan to attract businesses and good jobs. Second, rebuilding our decaying transportation infrastructure and investing in the infrastructure of the future, including complete broadband coverage and high-speed internet access. And third, statewide fiscal discipline, coupled with universal lower tax rates, better education, and college accessibility, and protection of our most cherished New York values of equality and opportunity for all. We are investing in upstate more than ever before, a total of $36.6 billion. Of that, $3.4 billion has been invested right here in the North Country. But perhaps even more important than the impressive amount invested in the region was the process through which investments were chosen. We are working with local business and community leaders through the North Country Regional Development Council, asking our experts to identify regional strengths and needs to better target state investments. The North Country REDC has received $549.5 million in REDC awards for 531 projects. The result? New projects that build on the strengths of existing successes or that gave a boost to projects on the cusp of success. Our key investments in the region include acquisition of 69,000 acres from the Finch Prine Paper Company, the largest addition to the Adirondack Park in more than a century that includes the Boreas Pond Tract. The investment of $1.25 million to develop the Wild Walk, a unique trail among the treetops that transforms the way visitors see and experience the natural world. A renewed focus on the I Love New York advertising campaigns tailored to seasonal activities in the North Country, supported by $7 million in advertising buys in the U.S. and Canada just in the last year. Transformational improvements to Whiteface, Gore, and other key attractions, an investment of more than $70 million. Gateway to the Adirondacks, a new recreation hub in North Hudson, will be designed based on a collaboration between the state and 5 neighboring towns. It will be a $32 million public-private partnership. Guided by the input of North Country leaders, significant investment has been made to improve lodging so guests can have a richer, livelier experience when they make the Adirondacks their recreation destination. This year, the historic Hotel Saranac reopened after an extensive restoration that included $5 million in state support. The North Country REDC has identified lodging development as key to growing the tourism economy. To that end, we have hired Ernst & Young to produce a roadmap for identifying lodging opportunities across the region, with $13 million committed to investing in new projects. Thanks to these investments, the tourism industry is booming. There are now over 21,000 tourism jobs in the North Country, over a 10% increase since 2010. Direct traveler spending in the region has gone up 14%, and local tax revenue generated by tourism totaled $89 million an 11.6% increase. The state is also focused on one of the great winter recreational jewels in the nation at Lake Placid and in the surrounding areas of the Adirondacks, and the host for the 1932 and 1980 Winter Olympics. The Olympic Regional Development Authority operates the state-of-the-art venues and facilities that help ensure that New York remains one of the very few premier training centers for winter sports. Lake Placid hosts major events and national and international championships, like the 8th International Children's Winter Games in 2019 and the 2021 Bobsled and Skeleton World Championships. But tourism and recreation tells only part of the new North Country story. We are working harder to retain key industries and the jobs they create. Alcoa Aluminum in Messina, 600 jobs saved. Kraft Heinz, creating 125 jobs and retaining 345 jobs in Lowville. Fort Drum, home to the U.S. Army's 10th Mountain Division, remains the largest single-site employer in the state, thanks to critical state investments in roadways and housing that help keep the base open despite military cutbacks. Elsewhere in the area, we are building the economy of tomorrow and creating new jobs. Companies like Bombardier and Spencer ARL have gone to work at the Plattsburgh Transportation Equipment Cluster, which supports nearly 900 jobs. Norsk Titanium is bringing advanced manufacturing to Plattsburgh with the manufacture of titanium parts for the airline industry. And Trudeau Institute, StairRx, and Bionic Laboratories are creating jobs in the life sciences. Our economic plan is working. Unemployment is down in the North Country, dropping to 6.6% in February 2018 from 11.1% in February 2011. Today, the North Country has 106,800 private sector jobs, an increase of 3,600 jobs or 3.5% since February 2011. Long-term growth depends on preserving our natural assets. It also depends on improving our infrastructure, because good roads, bridges, and airports are the lifeblood of our communities and our economy. To grow New York's competitiveness in the 21st century global economy, we are building today for a better tomorrow with a $100 billion infrastructure plan, the largest infrastructure and development plan in the nation. And unlike other parts of the country, New York State does not just talk about moving vital infrastructure projects forward, we actually get them done. We are transforming Plattsburgh International Airport into a 21st century regional gateway, with the state investing $38 million of the $43 million project cost. And we're investing in our roads and bridges. $19.7 million to replace the bridge carrying Route 11 over Interstate 87 in Champlain. $10.5 million to replace the Interstate 87 bridge over the Little Ausable River in the town of Peru, and the Interstate 87 bridge over the Salmon River in the town of Plattsburgh. $16 million to reconstruct portions of State Route 30 and State Route 3 in the village of Tupper Lake. And $15.6 million to replace 7 bridges along Route 73 in the town of Keene. Efficiency, education, economic development, infrastructure. These are the foundations of prosperity, and that is what we are building on here in the Adirondacks.
Excelsior is the state motto, ever upwards, always aspirational. And it is a perfect word to describe not just the state's motto, but the spirit of the people of New York. And there is nothing that we can't do when we put our mind to it, and that's what we have to remember, and that's what Excelsior says to every one of us.